Hey, good evening, everybody. Afternoon, evening. I'm so used to saying good evening. Welcome to a very special pre-Thanksgiving episode of Tower Casuals. We weren't planning on doing an episode this week. Corey and I were pretty clear about that when we were trying to kind of plan out the rest of November and plan out the holiday season, like we told you all a few weeks ago. And then Bungie drops the bomb on us last week, right as we go into record, that, hey, we're going to have a TWAB next week. We weren't really sure what to expect. We were kind of hoping that this would be just a fairly short one. And we read the description of, oh, it's going to have artifact mods and stasis changes. So we're like, oh, okay, cool. You know, some exotic armor tuning, etc. What they gave us was a proverbial novel. It's a pretty beefy boy. We're gonna go through that. Well, it's more specifically, I'm gonna go through it. Corey's on vacation. Corey's currently enjoying, I think, 10 days of straight time off of work. The first real break that our beloved captain has gotten in a very long time. So I wanted to let him enjoy that. I'm just kind of chilling at home, getting some stuff ready for the holidays. My Thanksgiving's not till Saturday, so a little bit of free time, and thought I'd share some thoughts. So we're gonna talk TWAB. We're gonna talk about the very briefly about the Witcher collaboration that got announced yesterday, and then they gave us a Dev Insights blog today also about Fireteam Finder. I have only gotten a chance to read a little bit of the TWAB so far and see a few reactions on social media. I'm largely going to do this off the cuff. So bear with me while I'm doing this. There's no video today. It's just going to be audio. It's just going to be me kind of ranting and raving as we go through it. I solicited some opinions from folks in the Discord. I'll share those kind of at the end of the TWAB section. I told them they had 45 minutes from the time I posted it, which was about 10 minutes ago, so we'll see what thoughts I get in there. But there's been some from Airmail Attic, from Titan. Ronnie has shared some thoughts. Nerd shared some thoughts. And a few discussions that I've had with A1 Johnny already over this. So, yeah, let's just dive right on into it. This TWAB comes out. Let me silence my phone. My phone is going off like crazy right now. I forget that I get notifications on my computer now. I think that part of the issue that folks are seeing with these changes is they feel like certain builds and playstyles are getting completely destroyed. I think there's some feelings that it's because it's too powerful or because it makes content too easy, and some of it is because it makes content too easy. The fact of the matter is, we're going to talk a lot about Banner of War, we're going to talk about Bubble, we're going to talk about we're going to talk about all that. We're going to talk about restoration and survivability as a whole, as a concept. And this is something that I want to have more discussions on once these changes are in-game. I want to give some initial thoughts now. And then, as part of our dungeon discussion, here in about a week and a half or so, I want to have another talk about survivability, now that would be the first real endgame activity that most of us are going to dive in on with this. So without further ado, let's go ahead. Let's jump in on this artifact first. Let's start with something that's not super controversial. Let's start with something that's a little bit more fun. The artifact is out, and of course, in our first column, we have our anti-champion mods, and the ones that we're going to have this season are anti-barrier sidearm. You can already see where this is going to go. Anti-barrier sidearm, unstoppable hand cannon, unstoppable bow, overload auto, and overload pulse. I don't think any of us have a significant issue with unstoppable hand cannon and bow and overload AR and overload pulse. What the fuck are y'all thinking making anti-barrier sidearm the only anti-barrier mod? We had one like this before, I think. I think it was like anti-barrier hand cannon may have been the only one, and it was a couple of years ago, and almost every champ for the season was unstop and overload, and I'm just like shuddering at the thought of that being how this is going to play out if this really is like a 7-month long season. I'm just sitting here going like, Well, that's gonna suck for 7 months. I think people are gonna really rely on things like Wish Ender and Arbalest more than we already do in endgame content, because we just simply don't want to deal with it. But like I said, the other four perfectly fine. I don't think that's an issue at all. I Overload AR, super stoked for that. Stoked for Overload Pulse. Big fan. I still like how long it takes to proc sometimes on those. And I don't personally, I don't think you should have to aim down sights. But column 2, this is where we get a lot of our combo mods. Flame, Fiber, and Freeze. Combine Solar Strand and Solar Stasis Siphon mods into one. Kindling Trigger. Radiant causes solar weapons to apply Scorch to unscorched combatants. Really, really, really stoked for this one. I think there's going to be a lot of fun solar builds this season. Maybe not for Titans, but for the rest of us, there's going to be some fun there's going to be some fun solar builds that I think we can come up with. Really, really, really interested to see how this works in tandem with some of these weapons that don't have incandescent on them. And of course, it's going to work with our exotics. So curious to see how that one's going to work. Blast Radius is back. Rapid Final Blows with rocket launchers and grenade launchers grant armor charge. You got your Origin perk specialization, which is Sundering, Nano Munitions, and Nanotech Tracer Rockets. And then from Whence You Came, increases ability damage to take it and scoring combatants. That's going to be really fun because by all appearances, this is a Dreaming City themed season. That's going to be a lot of fun. Looking forward to that. Hoping that helps us out a little bit in the coming dungeon. So pretty excited for that one. I think that's going to be cool. Column 3, we've got Flint Striker. Rapid solar weapon precision hits and solar weapon final blows grant radiant. That's going to be beautiful for things like the Callus mini tool. I think that's going to see an awful lot of use this season now. Torch. While radiant, deal increased weapon damage to combatants affected by strand and stasis debuffs. Also going to be fun. And I think that's kind of natural, right? That we think that solar should have more of an effect on ice, so to speak. Heart of the Flame, casting your solar super grants nearby allies radiant and increases the damage of your super for each nearby ally. That's going to be really cool. Again, I think you're going to see that with a lot of solar supers. Whether it's Blade Barrages, it's Big Hammer, or oh my god, well, Radiance. I blanked for a second. I've been thinking about the new solar super for Warlocks all day today, and that's just where my mind went for some reason. Origin perk specialization 2 is going to be Noble Deeds, Unstated Hunger, Head Rush, and Dragon's Vengeance. And then Wished into Being. While your super is nearly fully charged, ability Final Blows spawn Orbs of Power. Wearing Season of the Wish armor decreases super amount threshold. So I think that could be really cool, especially for those who have, maybe grenade or melee focused classes. Unraveling Orbs. Column 4. Unraveling Orbs. Picking up an Orb of Power grants strand weapons unraveling rounds. Again, gonna be really spicy with some of these weapons. Pillar of Ice. Killing an encased combatant spawns stasis crystals. Really excited for that one. That one is gonna be awesome for ability uptime, I think. Revitalizing Blast, causing damage with a solar ability, weakens champions and bosses for a short duration. Again, gonna be really cool seeing people, maybe running around with the throwing knives. Get your throwing knives out, get your fusion nade builds going again. Overload rocket launchers. I think that's awesome. They're very clearly pushing us into a rocket. We're already in a rocket damage meta. I feel like this kind of is the last hurrah for rockets for a little while, though, because I think it's going to be an especially challenging thing to get done with the final shape. I really think that they're going to want to refocus that and refocus how heavy weapons are going into the expansion. Rockets have been meta for, basically the whole year. Let's be totally honest. They've been meta for quite a while now. They're going to continue being meta, and if this is whether it's a 3 or a 7 month season, they very clearly want us using rockets. Dragon's Bite is the final one in this column. Breaking a combatant's shield with strand or stasis weapons has a chance to suspend or freeze that combatant. Wearing Season of the Wish armor increases this chance. I think it's going to be awesome. A lot of us use Rufus's Fury, I know. One of the best primaries in the game right now. Aegir's Scepter, another beloved primary weapon. Both of those are going to be absolute monsters when it comes to this. And then on top of that, you've got the ability to get the unraveling rounds, and you've got the potential to get, if you encase them with Aegers, you've got the ability to shatter them and get the stasis crystals. So I think you got some really cool combinations that can go on here. And of course, resetting the artifact easier than ever. You can always change that up. This final column, I was kind of hoping for some spicier ones here. I was really hoping that maybe we'd see a return to oh my god, I was just literally just talking about this with a friend. The fusion rifle perk that we had that so many of us had fun with, and I'm just completely blanking on the name now, that caused tons of havoc. It's like right there on the tip of my tongue. I gotta Google this because it's gonna bother me. God, I can't. I really can't. I really can't remember it, and it's bothering me so much. I can't find it. It's right there on the tip of my tongue. It's bothering me so particle deacceleration. Something like that. It was something like a particle acceleration or something like that. That is what I'm thinking of right now. So I really, really hope that we get to see that one come back. I was hoping we would get it here. We didn't, unfortunately. Excuse the fire alarm going off in the background. Somebody's smoke alarm was going off, I think, in my building or the building next to me. This final column, though, you have Horde Shuttle. Damaging unraveled targets with a weapon occasionally spawns a Threadling. That could be cool. Again, everything working together. Hail the Storm. Shattering encased targets and stasis crystals increased damage. Deals increased damage, not damage, increased damage. Shattering a stasis crystal releases shards of ice that damage and slow targets. Again, we talk about all these things working here. Hail the Storm, Pillar of Ice, and Dragon's Bite all working together. Could be really, really fun. Same with Raise the Precision, which is this next one. While Radiant Solar Precision final blows cause combatants to ignite. I am just imagining all the explosions happening from Amit and from Callus Mini Tool this season. That's going to be absolutely monstrous. Solo operative. A lot of you who like to solo dungeons or who like to solo Legend Master Lost sectors, this is going to be a must-have for you. When you are the only member of your fire team, you deal increased damage to all combatants. And of course, the fan favorite perk. We just talked about how rockets are a big thing coming back. Argent Ordnance is back. Argent Ordnance. Used to be, correct me if I'm wrong, everybody, but I believe this used to be a perk that you could actually select. This used to be a mod before they changed everything. Firing a rocket launcher consumes 1 stack of armor charge, granting increased damage and reload speed until you reload or stow your rocket launcher. That's going to be awesome. That is huge for rocket metas. You could potentially get way more rockets off now. And I think for fights like Master Nez, that's going to be a pretty big deal. Especially if you have the perks that allow you to have more heavy ammo or multiple rockets in the tube. This is going to work better and better with some of those. I know I've got a rocket launcher that allows me to have three or four in the tube. This is going to be awesome to use with that. Just like boom, 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 boom. I'm really, really excited for that. So that's where we are with the artifact right now. I think the artifact sounds awesome. Queen's Foil sensor, whatever. Anyways, so it's cool. I don't think it's as oh my god as we thought it was going to be, but I think it's way better than Season of the Witches artifact was. I think it's probably better than Deep. But yeah, I was really hoping for that sweet void volatile perk to come back from the first season this year. This is kind of like we thought, though. Stasis and Strand were going to get a lot of focus. I didn't have Solar on my bingo card, but I'm really glad they're having that work in tandem with Stasis this time around. All right, so with all that in mind, let's move on to the Big Daddy. Let's move on to, let's be honest, why we're all here today. Ability changes. These are all going to go live on Tuesday. That's part of the reason why we rushed to get an episode up today. Is we felt that it was pretty important to be able to discuss this. So the overall goals, I want to start here. They say ensuring all abilities, particularly those in our longer cooldown tiers, are meeting intended cost to output ratio, reducing cases of player survivability that exceed our power bar, first steps of Well of Radiance and Ward of Dawn tuning, taking up tuning paths on Stasis, with more to come in the future. There is a lot here. There's a lot here. This encompasses the vast, overwhelming majority of the TWAB. Is this and exotic armor changes? There's a lot here. Let's go. I guess let's go ahead and let's dive on in. So I want to read their philosophy here. We've laid this out a number of times in previous posts, but it's worth repeating. We believe powerful abilities need to come at a meaningful cost to the player to force difficult decisions about what fits best in their build. To put it plainly, we are not hitting that goal. There are many build crafting avenues that grant flat chunks of ability energy and ignore ability cooldown tiers. This gives them extremely inconsistent value depending on what grenade, melee, or class ability you have equipped. When you stick these build crafting elements together, such as grenade kickstart, intervention, absolution, demolitionist, and chunk energy fragments, it results in long cooldown abilities having uptime that is dramatically higher than what we intend for the potency. With this season, we're taking a first step at addressing that problem. The base passive cooldown tiers for abilities will also influence the amount of chunk energy they receive from perks. For our fastest charging abilities, things are not changing. But as we progress through the passive cooldown tiers into slower charging abilities, that immediate burst of energy will reduce to a floor of 50% of base. Sorry, I did not see if my thing was still recording. 50% of base for our slowest charging grenade and class abilities, and 60% for our slowest charging melee abilities. With Season of the Wish, we're only implementing this change for grenade, melee, and class abilities. Perks that add super energy are unchanged. We're also excluding any perk that either intentionally grants a full refund, like Knock 'em Down, or targets only a single specific ability, like Shinobu's Vow. Those still work identically to their behavior in the live game. So here's this next section is really where I think most of the controversy is coming from. Or at least a significant part of the controversy today. Staying alive. Of course, this is about what else but survivability. As our roster of player-elected difficulties PED activities has expanded in recent years, we've shifted the sandbox to enable more of our often risky gameplay loops to feel effective against increasingly difficult lineups of combatants. This can be seen in the addition of more defense or support-focused tools like overshields, expanded access to healing through restoration and cure, and the development of keywords like woven mail. We still need to keep our aspirational content to remain challenging. We're currently in a position where applying combat pressure to a build-crafted player is extremely difficult, which doesn't leave our activities time with many teams with many options for tuning difficulty while still having things feel fair across a broad spectrum of player types. Player survivability at the top end is too high, a problem we touched on in the past, and they have addressed this. They have talked about this at length. We need to find a better balance between the two extremes of enabling players to heedlessly dive into the foray or making it feel like long-range chip damage is the only option to clear an encounter. To that end, we're making an initial pass at tuning some of our top-end outliers, but we anticipate this will be a process that will take place over many releases so we can ensure things are trending in a healthy way. For this first pass, we're targeting a number of small subclass keywords, such as Woven Mail, Restoration, and Devour. Alright. So let's just get into it. Woven Mail, reduced damage resistance versus PvE combatants from 55 to 45%. I don't actually think that this is that horrible. Woven Mail is not that bad. Where this is going to be bad is for, I think, specifically Strand Titans. This is going to be a little bit rough. I don't think that this is bad. I think this is healthy. And this is going to decrease reliance on things like Banner of War. Banner of War is getting its own nerf later on in this not segment, but later on in this blog. But I do think that that's pretty important. And I think there's also just a number of tools that give you woven mail at this point too. Restoration is the big one. Restoration is the one where I kind of like, tilted my eyebrow up a little bit at it. I was like, what? Reduced healing rate at restoration ×1. It used to be in PvE 40 HP a second, and PvP 20 HP a second. Now it's going to be 35 HP a second in PvE, and 17.5 in PvP. I don't think that is horrible. Restoration ×2, that one's a little bit rougher. It used to be 65 and 32.5 respectfully. Now it's going to be 50 and 25. I think that's a little rough. In PvP in general, I'm okay with the changes. In PvE, I think it's a little bit rougher because there's already, like they said, there is a survivability issue. I wouldn't be shocked if this in particular gets walked back. I would not be shocked. For PvE, I think for PvP it's going to stay right where it is, and it needs to stay where it is for PvP in my opinion, with the change that's coming. I think that's totally fine. PvE, I have a feeling it gets walked back. But that likely would not be until the final shape. Maybe they pull the trigger if this really is a 7-month season. Maybe they pull the trigger in like an April update or something. And then there's Devour. There's been some mixed reactions to this. Nadiki, in particular in our Discord, is very happy about this. I believe he said for Voidwalkers. Very excited about this. I'm curious to see how this works. Okay, because this does exclude Voidwalkers. Let's talk about this for a minute. This is largely due to the ease of use of the Echo of Starvation fragment, which was initially developed when there were fewer orbs of power being generated. We're making a targeted change to Devour that excludes Voidwalkers, reducing its healing amount from 200 HP to 100 HP unless Feed the Void is equipped. For our Voidwalkers out there, we're also increasing the amount of grenade energy that Devour defeat grants with Feed the Void to offset some of the chunk energy changes detailed above. So Devour, healing amount on both activation and when refreshed reduced from a full heal to 100 HP unless Feed the Void is equipped. Now refills both health and shield sections more smoothly rather than adding health to each section separately. And in Feed the Void, increased grenade energy regeneration per kill while Devour is active. The amount varies on the type of target defeated, and now also improves the strength of Devour's heal when equipped. This sounds on paper like a really awesome change. I'm going to be honest. Voidwalker, like, it's back on the menu. That sounds great. I really, really enjoy how this sounds. So I'm very interested to see how this actually plays out in the live game. Again, this is one of those things that we're going to have to get our hands on. I think we've learned enough from the past with how Bungie makes their ability changes to just not go off our gut feeling on a blog post and be like, oh my god, the sky is falling. We need to see how it plays out in the live game. And that's how I very much feel about all of these changes. Restoration is the one out of these three that I'm like, that probably is going to get walked back. I don't think Voidwalker is going to get touched. If anything, it might get tuned a little bit more. But like I think the woven mail, that feels like it's here to stay for me. I think 5% was probably too insignificant. 10% feels about right. Maybe they walk it back to like 7.5 or 8%, but 10% feels about right. Just going on a gut feeling. Sprint and slide melees. Basically, you can no longer slide, fire your weapon, and initiate your soldier charge or slide melee. Because in update 3.4, they made the decision to no longer allow shield bash, seismic strike, and hammer strike to one-shot enemy players. But there were still ways around it, right? So, oh boy. Sprint and slide activated melees can no longer be activated after the player fires their weapon during a slide on the following melee abilities: Seismic Strike, Shield Bash, Hammer Strike, Howl of the Storm, Consecration, Fletchet Storm, Lightning Surge, Tempest Strike. Love it. Absolutely love it. That's a huge source of annoyance, I think, for a lot of us in PvP. I'm a pretty big fan of this change. I don't think it's really removing like a skill-based move necessarily. You can certainly make that argument, but I personally don't see this as like, oh, making PvP even easier for people. No, I think it's making it more accessible is what this is ultimately doing. It's also removing something that's just a gigantic pain in the ass and is circumventing something that they didn't want in the first place, right? And then The Potency of Tempest Strike is going to be coming back. Really, really thrilled for this one. Increased base damage from 110 to 125. Rework tracking behavior to be more consistent at longer ranges, and improved consistency when traveling over rough terrain. I'm a big fan of Tempest Strike. It's fun. I have used it a lot. I've used it a lot over the years. Big fan, big fan. And I like that it can jolt a number of targets at once, disorient them. Yeah, very, very big fan. Very big fan. One of my favorite parts of Arcstrider Hunter. It was really the only thing I liked in OG Arcstrider Hunter. And now I've been able to keep it with my Lightning Javelin build. Here's the other big section that a lot of people are big mad about right now. Bonk Hammer and the Banner of War. With Season of the Witch, we released Banner of War, which has quickly jumped to the top of the aspect list for our Titan players. It is currently equipped for 20% of all Titan playtime for Season of the Witch PvE activities. This is rivaled only by Into the Fray at 15% of playtime, which is Banner's natural pairing. We're very happy with the way Banner of War has supported the Berserker class fantasy and don't want to reduce its ability to do so when at maximum charge. However, it's currently too easy to build up to that maximum charge very quickly in content with sufficient density of combatants, especially with the help of your teammates, i.e. Crota. i.e. anything in Crota's End. Crota's End, Ghost of the Deep, these really, really dense activities. It's very easy to proc in, right? So with the new season, they're going to be making a change to slow down the charge progression, increasing the number of defeats required to level the banner up at each tier. As part of this change, we're also slightly increasing the timer extension granted by each enemy defeated to compensate. So Banner of War. Increase number of enemy defeats necessary to level up the banner by approximately double, and increase the amount of time added per enemy defeat at each level to compensate. These values vary depending on the type of target defeated, and fixed an issue where unpowered swords were being granted a damage boost by Banner of War. Now let's stop and talk about this before we talk about Bonk. This, I don't think, is a huge change. I still think in fairly dense activities, you're still going to be activating it regularly. What I think a lot of folks have taken issue with is, and in fact some people in our very own Discord have taken issue with this, is that the explanation here makes it sound like it's less of, hey, you're practically invincible while you're using this. And everybody has now figured out how to be like that, to rather make it sound like, well, too many people are using this, and so we need to nerf it because it's a popular option. I think that's a popular misconception of live service games as well. If something is fun to use, they're going to take it away because too many people are using it. I don't think so. I still think Banner of War is going to be the most used thing on Strand Titan. I don't think Strand Titan is really getting that big of a nerf. I actually think Strand Titan is going to be totally fine. I do not. If you have to rely so much on one aspect for your class to be fun, then there's one of two things going on. Either the class is super duper broken, which we have seen in the past, or two, honestly, I really hate sounding like a Dark Souls super fan here, or sounding like a Soulsborne fan. Get good, genuinely get better at build crafting. Build crafting is a part of the game now. Experiment with the other elements. I understand Strand is the new hotness. We didn't have to wait forever to get new aspects here like we did with Stasis. And they're far less painful to go and earn, and this and that. And I get that. I understand that. I sympathize with that. I don't think you're getting a huge nerf here. Rather, I think it's bringing it in line because it was kind of absurd. Let's be honest. You could have Banner of War up the entire time in some of these raids and some of these activities. And I do think that trivializes some of the content. If you can go in there and be practically invincible outside of blowing yourself up or just being a, dipshit, then what's the point? And to that end, it's they got to make changes here. And, partially because of things like this. And I do think on one hand, you need more testing. There are things that will never be picked up in testing that get picked up in the live environment, right? We could sit here and say, oh, you need more testing, you need more testing, you need more testing all day long. The reality is you cannot test every single build combination, and you're not going to test it in every single activity to see how it's affected, right? to me, it does seem like kind of common knowledge that you probably would have, like, used the Synchrota's End and maybe tweaked it a little bit before it came out. But I will say, like, they're tweaking it a season after. Like, we knew a couple weeks in that they were going to nerf this, right? They have not been shy about that. They basically said, go have fun this season. You know, if they really wanted to, they probably could have deployed these changes at the mid-season patch. And personally, I'm kind of glad they didn't. Like, they just let you have that power fantasy for the season. Do I think they probably should have left it into the final shape? Arguably. But to me, it's clear they're trying to introduce a lot of these healing changes and a lot of these protection changes now so they can then walk them back if they need to. I don't think Banner of War is getting walked back. This feels to me like a pretty fair one. I think we just take, and I do myself, take a little bit of issue with how this is phrased. Don't make it sound like you're doing it just because people are having fun and because it's popular ability. Popular ability, you should not be nerfing things based on the popularity. If it's being used by that many people, there's clearly a reason why. But I also do think in this case, it's because, oh, LOL, Invincible Titan, punch, punch, punch. I do think that is part of the power fantasy. There's a way to rein that in, though. So, just, I would ask everybody to keep that in mind. Is that I don't think this is the end of the world, but the phrasing definitely needed to be better. Hey, this is where it helps to have, like a community team that you didn't fire. Solar Titans, though. Solar Titans, oh boy, we're going to have to see how this one plays out. This is the one I'm definitely most trepidatious about. Oh man. This is a thing. We started this section off talking about how the relationship between potency and uptime and how the rules of the sandbox began to break down when those two don't match up for a given ability. Throwing Hammer isn't currently matching up. We don't want to remove the full energy refund on the pickup because the conventional gameplay loop is still really fun, but we do want to add some downtime between throws to discourage the stand next to the boss and bonk them behavior. To that end, picking up a Throwing Hammer will now return its energy over a short duration rather than instantly. We're also increasing the projectile's tracking strength so players who choose to chuck the hammer at longer ranges are more consistently rewarded for taking that risk. When picked up, Throwing Hammer now returns melee energy over 1.4 seconds rather than instantly. That is like a negligible difference. Let's be honest. That's like negligible. We're going to have to see how it plays out. And increased projectile tracking strength by 20%. That's cool. Part of this equation is also Sol Invictus, which offers reliable safe havens and sunspots. Similar to Throwing Hammer changes, we don't want to discourage players who want to move from position to position, advancing through combat space. We do want to make sure players who bunker in dangerous positions, such as the feet of a boss, aren't able to do so for long. And this is very much in line with the philosophy they've had for a couple of years now. And we're going to talk about Well of Radiance next, standing in one place. That's the behavior that's being discouraged here, not the power fantasy, not the bonk fantasy. It's standing in one place, just wham, 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 wham. Also, that's really fucking boring. It's really fucking boring, guys. 1.4 seconds is not going to, meaningfully change your life. It just means that, like, super bonk builds probably won't be a thing going forward. And you know what? That's okay. I don't think this destroys the class, though. I do think this is going to make the class very interesting, and I'm curious to see how this plays out. I could see this getting walked back a little bit. They're certainly not going to walk it all the way back. I could see them dropping this to, like, 1 second, maybe, as a refresher instead of 1.4. But I think this feels pretty fair right now. Sol Invictus, your maximum sunspot duration is going to be reduced from 20 to 12 seconds. Again, that's a little rough, but I do think that's meaningful for PvP and for boss encounters. I think this is meaningful. Duration is only ever reached when players are standing inside the sunspot. Sunspot duration without the owner standing inside remains unchanged at 5 seconds. I think totally fair. Totally fair. There are plenty of survivability tools out there. Okay? Make a better build. Let's be real. Make a better build. Okay? I don't have a nicer way to say this. Alright, let's move on to the other one that y'all are all mad about. Well of Radiance and Ward of Dawn. With Update 3.4, we made a change to our super cooldowns, placing Well of Radiance and Ward of Dawn in the fastest recharging tier. This decision was based largely on their kill potential versus supers that deal burst damage or allow you to roam the field for potential team wipes. The game has changed significantly since then with changes to trials. We want to reevaluate their placement. I think that's a very, very good statement because every single trials match, it's Well and Bubble. Every single one. In Season of the Wish, we're increasing their base cooldown times by 1 tier, matching the passive cooldowns of some of our burst supers like Blade Barrage and Chaos Reach. Our goal is for Well and Ward to have stronger competition in round-based mode, giving other players more tools to effectively deal with them under time pressure in a mode like Dominion has. So increase base cooldown time from 417 seconds to 455 seconds. So essentially, we're adding 38 seconds on. And again, this is without any sort of mods or, building into it or anything like that. You can still do that. There is nothing that says you cannot do that. So this is going to be a lot lower for most people. However, here's the next part of that. On a longer time frame, we're evaluating Well and Ward's place in the sandbox more fundamentally. These two supers are currently operating in too similar a space, leaving little room for them to breathe on their own. Well of Radiance in particular offers too much, and its effective invulnerability is not something we believe the sandbox can or should continue to support. Agreed. We're not making further changes to Well or Ward with Season of the Wish, but we have a suite of future changes planned to reduce Well's dominance in PvE and push the gameplay space of these two supers further apart. Provide more details on that closer to the release. I have to imagine this is in place for the final Shapes raid. I have to imagine there are major changes coming to Well and Ward of Dawn before we get to that. And I think that's going to make for a fascinating raid race if you can't build into these two. Because for all the complaining that folks do about, like, they need to be nerfed, you still see them in every single day one team. Why? Because it's the meta strat. I'm very excited to see what we can do to continue to push how the game operates. And I know there are some people who read this and are like, oh my god, the sky is falling. Bungie's taking away everything. They're taking away all the survivability. Healing classes are gone. They're destroyed. They're nerfed. I'm not reading it as that. I'm reading that as they want to do an evolution of this. And I'm trying really hard not to sound like a bootlicker right now, but I'm actually really excited for the gameplay possibilities that this could offer us. It's why I was so excited for those support glaives when they announced them, and then they ended up being total duds. But like being able to shoot little bubbles out, being able to shoot, some healing rifts, like that's really exciting to me. Like that allows things like that to shine more. We should be welcoming things like this, not screaming and saying you're taking away my favorite toy. Guys, we've been relying on Bubble for 10 years. We were 9.5 years, excuse me. It's not exactly 10 years yet. We've been relying on it for like 9.5 years. We've been relying on Well of Radiance for 5.5. It's okay to move on. There was a time when we didn't think that we would be able to move on when they took out self-res for Warlocks when we came to Destiny 2, and then we got Well of Radiance a year later. So, like, we endured. We endured, and I think the game is going to be better for it. The game is better when we have to push the creativity, and I think that opens up a space for new supers and new abilities also down the line. So I'm very, very excited to see what can happen. I think that opens up some doors for Strand, maybe to get some new abilities. Maybe we can use Woven Mail on a few more abilities. Maybe we can get additional Strand or Stasis supers down the line, that offer more protection. We can build into these other classes rather than feeling, well, we gotta have a Well Lock, we gotta have a Bubble Titan, and, I think that's one of the greatest things that Strand did for us is, I wouldn't say it removed the need for a Well Titan, or, a Bubble Titan, but I do think that Blade Fury, especially with the release of Banner of War, has been such a strong it's been such a go-to super, and I think that's great. That's great for this game. I remember when Thunder Crash became really potent when we got Curse of the Falling Star, everyone was wanting to use it. That was a huge deal. That was a huge shake in the meta. I'm excited to see when we can get a Warlock shift in the meta. Maybe to where things swing back to where, hey, maybe we need a Bubble Titan every now and then because there's some really cool Warlock shit out there. I would love to see some buffs to Nova Bomb. I'd like to see some more buffs to Chaos Reach. Like, I'd like to see those used more. I mean, Chaos Reach's uptime is just so long. It's like, I kind of wish I wish we could just get basically it would be like an Arc Nova Bomb, but like, I really wish we could just get Chaos Reach be like a much shorter thing, but a much more powerful burst. Like maybe reduce its uptime to like 2.5 or 3 seconds. But it does all the damage that the longer beam did that quickly. Like, you have your option to switch between the two. I don't know. This is just me thinking and talking out loud. I don't have a huge problem with this. With Solar Titan, we're gonna have to see how these changes play out, right? We've made the mistake of crying foul and then playing with them and being like, oh shit, this actually isn't This isn't too bad. And I really think that may be a situation we've got here. All right. We've got two more major sections here. We've got stasis, and then we've got exotic armor. So let's talk about this. The near and slightly farther future of stasis. Oh boy. Starting in Season of the Wish and continuing in the final shape, we're making a number of quality of life changes to improve stasis' reliability in combat, and reevaluating some of our previous tuning changes for stasis abilities with the goal of bringing them up to the current abilities power bar. Yeah, so Subclass 3.0 really shifted the balance of power, and some of the nerfs are no longer needed for stasis, and I just can't believe it's taken this long to get back to stasis, frankly. The Fragment Suite. Let's start with this. Whisper of Hedrons removed the negative 10 strength penalty. Whisper of Impetus now provides plus 10 resilience. Whisper of Shards no longer provides plus 10 resilience. That's going to be a big one. Not sure how I feel about that one overall. I don't think we should ever be taking away positive increases. Personally, not when it's building into a subclass. I don't think that should ever be a thing. Whisper of Hunger. Stat penalty change from negative 10 mobility, negative 10 intellect, to negative 20 strength. Okay. Whisper of Bonds removed negative 10 discipline penalty. And then, oh my lord, I'm so excited here. I can speak as an authority on this one. For Hunters, we're making changes targeted at improving the reliability of Withering Blade in all content and Winter Shroud in PvE. I'm so happy about this. Withering Blade, of course, your shurikens. Increase projectile speed by 10%, projectile lifetime by 10%. Maximum bounce content from 2 to 3, and increased tracking consistency. This, of course, was run into the ground because it was so strong in PvP. You could freeze somebody with the first one, and you could shatter them with the second one. You could just sit there and and if you shatter or kill something, you get them back. So it was just a continuous gameplay loop of that's all it was. That's all Iron Banner, the first Iron Banner was after Stasis came out. So it was terrifying. Winter Shroud, getting an update to be more forgiving against PvE combatants. Increased slow stacks applied to PvE combatants from 40 to 60. Slow duration from 4 seconds to 8 seconds. And detonation size from 8 meters to 9 meters. Pretty excited about that one overall. Again, can't really wait to get in there and play with it. It enables things like 6 Coyote to more easily freeze enemies, or for a freeze to occur more quickly after a quick Duskfield dodge combo. So this is also going to work with those awesome stasis gauntlets that we got. That, again, got run into the ground a season after coming out. Seems to be a common thing with Hunter exotics. They release super duper broken, and within like 1 to 4 weeks, they're just gone. And we never get... It was a fight to get Star Eaters back. Star Eaters got nerfed a couple years ago, the second they came out. In fact, they were so strong that you weren't allowed to use them for one of the raid races. I want to say it was for Vault of Glass. Was that the season that these came out? I don't remember off the top of my head. I want to say it was Vault of Glass. And it took us years to get these things back and make them useful again. This year's just been such a delight. It works great with every class. Love it. For Titans, we're walking back a few changes made in some of these hot fixes to Shiver Strike and Glacial Quake that no longer fit the current sandbox. We've returned the ability to freeze nearby players on cast with Glacial Quake with a reduced radius from its previous version, making casting it in close quarters significantly safer than its current iteration. For Shiver Strike, we've restored its slow application to players on hit. It's previously removed in a world where collision damage was still lethal to players. So, that's going to be really cool. Excited to see this. I know that A1 Johnny and Joasis are probably going to be really excited to get in there and play with Behemoth builds again. John has remained a believer, I think. We're also implementing a change to Howl the Storm's consistency against players, because seeing a target touching a stasis crystal created by Howl and not being frozen was a frustrating experience. For Warlocks, we're making quality of life improvements to Frost Pulse and Penumbral Blast. Shadebinder is a strong pick already, agreed. And we don't feel like it needs much of a push, so we're focusing on areas where it can fail the reliability test. Frost Pulse's area of effect is being increased against PvE combatants, which is significantly increased consistency against fast-moving targets. Change involved reworking how this ability applies freeze to targets, reducing the latency between when the ability is activated and when the target is actually frozen. Freeze detonation size versus PvE combatants increased from 8 to 8.5 meters, and then Penumbral Blast. Intended to be a skill shot with a high payout. Increased detonation size when impacting environment from 1.5 to 2 meters. Shadebinders will also directly benefit from a tuning change made to Glacier Grenade. Glacier Grenade. Reduced base cooldown from 152 seconds to 121 seconds. That's huge. It's 30 seconds for your base cooldown. We take that. We take that here. The cooldown penalties for Dustfield Grenades and Cold Snap Grenades when Bleak Watcher is equipped have also been updated so that their cooldown times match the new Glacier Grenade cooldown time. Love it. Absolutely love it. Cold Snap Grenades are also getting an update. Fixed an issue where the Seeker was not consistently created in the direction the projectile was moving after a bounce. Increased arming shape size from 0.9 meters to 1.4, and tracking shape now ramps up from a full strength to 0 over the course of the grenade's lifetime. And then finally, we are increasing the bonus damage that special weapons deal to frozen targets by a small amount to help shattering enemies feel more consistent. Increase special ammo weapon damage versus frozen targets from 5% to 10%. Those are not the only changes we have in the works, and have some long requested changes for a future release that we'll discuss once they're closer. I have to imagine these are final shape changes or the very first release after the final shape. Depending on how long this season goes, I could see these being deployed in a mid-season update. A new stasis keyword we're tentatively calling Frost Armor, aimed at addressing some of the player feedback regarding survivability when running stasis, particularly when not using Whisper of Rime and Whisper of Chains. Additional tuning changes and reworks to existing stasis fragments, adding additional behavior to the harvest aspects. This, again, they're talking Frost Armor. That is, I think, another step in the direction of they want to make survivability class-specific things and not something we're building into across the board. You're already building in the resilience across the board. So this probably explains why, okay, we're going to kind of reduce restoration just a little bit, still build into it, but we're going to reduce it a bit because you're going to get boosts from your subclasses and from your abilities. And I think that's really important to understand in the scheme of things. We need to see how it plays out, as always. But right now, cautiously, pretty optimistic. I just think that we run the risk of, oh, we've got Woven Mail, oh, we've got Frost Armor, oh, we've got this, we've got that. I think those two having survivability built into their classes and their class identity is important, because there's not a whole lot of room to do that with Arc, Solar, and Void. You know, with Solar, you've got the Well of Radiance. You can make people radiant on any class. With Void, you've got the Hunter Invis. You've got Ward of Dawn. Arc, just fast as fuck boy. Fast as fuck boys. That's the one where you really have to build in. I think you have to build into your survivability, right? Because there's no like real class identity there to have any sort of protection on any of the classes, in my opinion. So, okay, I promise we're almost there. Exotic armor and armor mods changes. Holy crap. We're gonna kind of fly through these, honestly. We're gonna skip. I think we're gonna skip the armor mod changes. You guys can read that on your own. We're just gonna do the exotic armor here, and then I will have. I've got a little bit to say about the Fireteam Finder blog, and then we're gonna get on out of here. So I do have holiday plans, and this has already gone on for 48 minutes. I was really hoping to be wrapped up in an hour. Hunter exotic armor changes. Shards of Galanor. Throwing knife kills now grant super energy ranging from between 2.5% and 5%, depending on the type of enemy killed. Makes sense. I do think that's just for the throwing knife ability. I don't think that counts like super knife kills. Which, obviously you already get stuff back. Ophidia Spate. Knife kills now grant stacking damage bonus of 30, 60, 100% for 5 seconds to throwing knives. Dodging refreshes duration. Stompies. Very excited about Stompy changes. Removed requirement to have full class ability energy to benefit from the movement bonuses. Reduced airborne lateral acceleration bonus now provides damage resistance against combatants while airborne. So interested to see how this ultimately works out. It seems like they're trying to make, and they say they want Stompies to be a more desirable option outside of the Crucible and jumping puzzles. Which is basically the only time it gets used. Mechaneer's Trick Sleeves. Sidearm damage bonus now persists for 5 seconds after your shields begin to recharge. Sidearm kills extend the damage bonus's duration by 3 seconds and completely reload sidearm from reserves. Damage bonus has been reduced in PvP to compensate for it lasting longer. It now is 10% sidearm damage, down from 35. That's a pretty big nerf, but if you're going to have more of an uptime, especially for those really skilled Crucible players, I think that's a pretty fair trade-off. Bombardiers, 20 slow stacks are now applied to enemy players and 40 slow stacks to PvE combatants. Very excited for this one. Triton Vices. Now increase glaive melee damage bonus while surrounded to 100% for both PvE and PvP, up from 30% in PvE and 10% in PvP. This is 100% going to get walked back. There's no fucking way. There's no fucking way that this is not insanely overpowered with, again, things like Well of Radiance or even standing inside of a rift. If people are running into your Iron Band Zone, you're going to beat the shit out of them. I'm so excited to play with these. I'm really glad I have a good roll sitting in my vault. And Celestial Nighthawk precision kills now grant super energy ranging between 1.5 and 4.5%, depending on type of target killed. That could make Celestial Nighthawk a very appealing option, again, especially for things like GMs or maybe dungeons. There's just so many good hunter options right now, and that's not me being sarcastic. There's actually like a number of great options that Celestial Nighthawk is like 4th or 5th on my list, probably. Behind at least Blade Barrage, Gathering Storm, and Tether. Not necessarily in that order either. I put Revenant's pretty high up there for me too. You can't sleep on this. You can't sleep on Strand either. Like Celestial Nighthawk's no. It's arguably not even a top 5 super anymore. This is great. This is gonna help elevate it, I think, a little bit. Golden Gun, on the other hand, is just amazing on its own. Like that combined with Star Eaters is even really good. Titan. Severance Enclosure increases size and damage of the explosion. Kills with the exotic explosion now trigger an additional explosion. Boom, boom, boom. Peregrine Greaves. You now have to be airborne for a brief bit before the exotic effects will apply. Damaging champions, tormentors, or mini-bosses with a shoulder charge deals further increased damage and refunds your melee energy. We're going to have to default to our Titans for how they feel about this and how they feel about Syntheseps in particular. Worm God Caress, Burning Fist exotic effect has been reworked. It is now a meter that increases with melee kills and finishes and decays over time. It's broken into 5 sections, which provide escalating melee and glaive melee damage bonuses. Upper end of the meter also provides escalating weapon damage bonuses. As the meter decays, it passes back through the earlier tiers rather than deactivating immediately. The meter decays more quickly the more full it is. That actually sounds like a really sweet rework. I want to see how that works, and we need to hear from our Titans if they like that change. I think that sounds like a really, really cool exotic. I like that the effects don't go away automatically. They just go back down through the tiers. You just kind of have to remember like what they do, I guess. Ashen Wake, Fusion Grenade impacts, now stun unstoppable champs. Cool. Synthoseps. We want to bring generic melee bonus down a bit to give space for other more specialized melee exotics to shine in their specific niches. We felt it was safe to bring Synthosep's glaive melee bonus back up a substantial amount. I am hearing A1 Johnny scream exuberantly from here. Removed extended melee lunge distance. Now improves weapon handling and reload speed while surrounded. Reduced PvE surrounded melee damage bonus to 165 from 200%. Increased glaive melee bonus to 100% from 50%. Again, we're trading off. They really want us to be using glaives. I think for Triton Vices, it's okay. For Syntheseps, TBD. Precious Scars, kills with weapons matching your subclass now apply Restoration Tier 1 for 1.5 seconds in PvP and 3 seconds in PvE. That's, with the changes to Restoration, I actually really like that. Warlock. Oh my god, we're almost done. My throat is getting so dry reading all of this. Holy shit. God, I'm gonna just fly through a couple of these. I'm not gonna read all of them. There's so much here. Apotheosis Veil, casting your super now grants Cure Tier 3 for you and nearby allies. After your super ends, you are now temporarily gain greatly increased melee and grenade regen for 8 seconds. Again, could be a little bit spicy if you're running Void. Fellwinter's Helm, move the size of the weakening burst and duration of weaken up 1 tier against all targets except finishers against bosses, which retains maximum size and durations. At Karnstein Amulets, melee kills now grant Cure Tier 3 and Restoration Tier 1 for 8 seconds, as well as finishers. The Aeon Cult exotics all receive the following changes to their sect mods. Man, there's so much here. Sect of Force. This has been reworked to be all about providing your allies significant bonus weapon damage against powerful combatants. Bonus grenade melee energy has been moved to special benefit granted by Aeon Cult allies using a different sect. Rapid precision hits provide quicker reload and weapon swap speeds, and bonus lasts for 10 seconds. That's up from 6. No longer grants bonus melee, grenade, or super energy on stunning a champion or defeating a boss or mini boss. Instead, stunning a champion or rapid precision hits against any number of enemies will mark them for your allies. Allies deal 20% more damage to marked targets. When targets first marked nearby Aeon Cult allies who do not have Sect of the Force equipped gain grenade and melee energy. Sect of Insight. Nearby Aeon Cult allies who do not have it equipped no longer gain a bonus to weapon damage for a short time. Instead, they gain a burst of super energy. And then Sect of Vigor. Now provides damage resistance against combatants when an ally dies or is resurrected in addition to the existing class ability energy. When you cast your super, nearby allies no longer gain instant burst of healing or an overshield. Instead, critically wounded allies gain damage resistance from combatants as long as they stay near you. Nearby cult allies who do not have Sect of Vigor equipped will also recover class energy more quickly. That could be really cool to run in a group of 3 or even a group of 6. I think that those could be really fun. I know that right now the Aeon Gauntlets are totally worth using for the extra heavy, but I'm curious to see how these play out. Man, that's it. Thank God. Thank fucking God that's it. My throat is like completely dry at this point. It's a lot when I don't have Corey here to banter with me. Before we move on to Fireteam Finder, which can be our last topic for today, this Witcher armor looks kind of sweet. It's coming. It's kind of an abrupt change going from the overall like armor and abilities changes, which I think most are largely positive. We highlighted a few that could be problematic, specifically Solar Titan could be facing some changes, but I don't think anything is like super detrimental there, right? But, you know, kind of on the more fun side of things, I think that the Witcher armor looks pretty sweet for all 3 classes. I love that they give us Geralt's swords on all 3. They are not repeating the Assassin's Creed debacle, where only one class actually got the assassin robes. And it was some absolute horse shit that the assassin class did not get assassin robes. We got 300s Leonidas, essentially. Very happy that this armor looks good. There is a ghost, there's a ship, there's supposedly a finisher coming with all this, and I think an emote. I'm actually not taking a shit on this. I think that this actually looks pretty decent. And I'm actually like kind of interested to see how this looks in game. I think that the render here looks really cool. I'm not big on these collaborations. You guys know that about me, but I think this looks fun. I think this looks good. So we'll see how it goes. Our final piece of business today, man. Fireteam Finder beta first look. I'm going to be upfront with you guys. I have personally not read this yet today. This came out right as I was leaving to run some errands earlier. This came out. Oh boy. So let's just jump into it. They are going to do a public Bungie beta for this. They've been testing it in studio. They're going to bring it to everybody though. We made a bunch of progress on Fireteam Finder, including many of the unexpected technical challenges, and have come to a fork in the road with a difficult choice to make. Push the release of Fireteam Finder even later, or have a much more public version of the Bungie beta. We decided it's better to bring you along for the ride than make you wait. We hope you agree. Welcome to the party. So, the first thing that I want to draw attention to is the Fireteam Finder listing here for creating an event. You have the options for Campaign, Crucible, Dungeon, Gambit, Raid, Seasonal, Vanguard, Other. This is laid out really, really poorly. I understand that this is laid out alphabetically, except for Other. Jesus Christ, that is just weird to look at. I think it should be like core activities and then have your aspirationals at the end, but whatever. Still kind of cool. Each of them has a banner of their own. Beta goals. Prove that Fireteam Finder scales to millions of players. Protect the start of Season of the Wish. Protect the dungeon launch. Be nimble. For example, reserve the ability to accelerate or halt the beta test based on new information. Deliver a first-class Fireteam Finder for all activities by the final shape. Example, adhere to a schedule of multiple testing phases that progressively refine the new feature. The beta plan, stress test, November the 30th. So, for those of you keeping track at home, that is next Thursday. Of course, that is an extremely busy day for me. This is horrible timing. But the raids stress test will run from 9 a.m. Pacific to 5 p.m. Pacific. All raids you have access to are on the menu. We hope to keep the stress test open until 5 p.m., but this is where we haven't had a Bungie beta in the live game disclaimers come into play. There are countless scenarios where we may have to end the test early, so we ask for patience and hope you take it as an opportunity to give us early feedback as we work out the system's gremlins. I cannot stress to you enough, like, this is actually really massive that they're going to push it to the entire live game. There is a very specific reason why they're doing it at this time. That is largely to get, one, to get players from all regions, but two, they are doing this when the vast majority of North America, which is by far the biggest part of their player base, is at work. Because they need to scale. They've got to scale this. They can't just say, oh, we're going to drop it on like a Saturday for everyone. That would probably break the game. Let's be completely honest. I'm going to backseat dev here for a second. The beta period will begin in December pending stress results. That makes me think that they are going to roll it out for all activities. One, because the stress test will have been completed. But two, they want to get through this bit. All indications are they want to get through the dungeon first. And then the full release is targeting late January. So it does seem like even if this sounds like they are preparing for the final shape to be delayed. Even if they're not outright saying it, this really does give us some more evidence because they are planning to launch the full feature in late January, which is not going to be tied to any sort of release. Even if the final shape stays on track somehow, that is still a full month before the final shape comes out. They clearly want the kinks worked out for the next raid. That is clearly the goal here. Getting into Fireteam Finder. There are two ways to access. From the director using the roster tab and using the Fireteam Finder access point found on every activity's launch screen. Jesus. In both cases, you'll be able to search for a Fireteam or create a listing using a series of listing options to specify the group you're trying to build. There are some there's going to be some differences between stress test and beta launch. Stress test, beta, and launch. Kind of hard to describe without you actually looking at these. So I would encourage everyone to go look at these to get kind of an idea of what you're looking for. You can say things like stasis only, chatting using discords, meta loadouts, experienced, first time, friendly, patient, kind gamers, lots of time, chill, teaching, looking to help, fresh, clear, experience requested, hello friends, blah blah blah. And then communication, mic not required, online players only, console preferred, you can select console or PC preferred, or, auto join instead of people, actually looking through, you applying. We're sure you have questions about what's happening to group finding systems currently exist on our website and companion app. Both of them will remain active until the new Fireteam Finder, both in-game and out-of-game, is ready. The Bungie.net team has been hard at work developing a new out-of-game Fireteam Finder that's fully integrated with the in-game system, but it will not be available during the early beta period. That sounds about right. Stay tuned for more info on Fireteam Finder beta as it rolls out. Partner us as we get the feature up and running. Thank you in advance for all your help. We are excited to give you and your fellow Guardians the tools to tackle everything in Destiny 2 together. So just not a whole lot of info here. Just I think the screen looks very simple to set up. It looks very good. I have no problem with this. I think it's going to make getting some of these raid triumphs a lot easier. What jumps out at me is, and we talked about this on the show before, I think it's kind of silly how long it took to get something like this in-game, and we're only getting it now at the very end of the saga. For 10 years, we've relied on looking for group online. We've relied on Xbox's built-in LFG feature, which is a godsend, by the way, and I can't believe nobody else ever did it. That's the way that a lot of us use it, I think, at this point. We've relied on the Bungie companion app. We've relied on Bungie.net. This is a no-brainer, and I can't believe it took this long to build it. This feels like something we probably should have had in, Forsaken or Shadowkeep. Probably in, Shadowkeep and, one of the lesser releases, quote-unquote. And then I can't believe we've been hearing about this. We've been hearing about this for a year and a half, and it's still not out. That blows my fucking mind. It blows my fucking mind. But this sounds cool. Knowing Bungie, there'll probably be something if you participate in the, probably not in the raid stress test, just because it is like during working hours for all of our friends in Pacific time. It is exactly during working hours. And that's largely, I think, so they can collect the data and people aren't having to work weird hours. I would put money on that this test ends early, too, by the way. But for the beta period, there's almost certainly going to be like a special reward in-game for it. Probably an emblem, but I would keep an eye on it. And I think that's going to do it for us today. So we talked artifact, we talked armor changes, we talked ability changes, we talked Fireteam Finder. We did get a little bit of feedback from in our Discord. We're having a discussion going. I'd rather just kind of leave it there. There's been some really good banter going on, not like specific targeted comments. But there's been a really good debate going on specifically over the roles of Titans, and I would encourage everyone, like, hey, go check out some other content creators. I know Abantis is doing a video today about all this. Fallout Plays was doing a live reaction to this. I know Watts is doing one. I imagine just about everybody is going to do one. This is a pretty consequential blog that we got today in the TWAB, and I really can't believe that they're dropping this the day before a holiday weekend starts. But that's where we are. Thank you so much for listening to this. Thank you for giving us a little bit of time out of your holiday weekend to talk about this. Give some thoughts on all of this. I know we just kind of flew through the armor and Fireteam Finder stuff at the end. But there really aren't too many opinions to be given on those, I don't think. I think that's all pretty straightforward. It was mainly the abilities and the artifact we wanted to really be able to talk about today. And we spent like 30 minutes talking about ability changes. So if you guys have any questions going forward, please feel free to post them in the Discord or to email them to us, towercasual@gmail.com. You can also hit me up on Twitter at any time, Josh_Finn, 2 N's. Give me your thoughts. I want to hear everybody's thoughts. Specifically, I want to hear from Warlocks and Titans. How you guys feel about your changes. I want to hear what you guys think, what you guys feel. I want questions and comments for our next episode. Our next episode is slated to record on Wednesday and not Thursday of next week. I am tentatively going to the Seahawks-Cowboys game on Thursday night, so I'll be unavailable. But I really wanted to make sure I was here for the launch of Season of the Wish. So we're going to record 24 hours after the season goes live. That's definitely going to be really difficult to try and, jump in and do everything very quickly on Tuesday evening so that we can be ready to go on Wednesday. But we're up for the task. We're up for the challenge. And that's where we're soliciting questions and comments now, both on this and on the season that's coming. Like, once you play Season of Wish, hey, hit us up. If you hit it day one, hit us up with some questions. Of course, I'll be tackling the dungeon next weekend. It goes live on December 1st. I will be jumping in probably that afternoon. I think Nerd and I are going to run it. We're going to grab a third and we're going to run it so that I can hopefully get you guys a reaction to it on Saturday or Sunday. Looking more likely like I'll record it on Sunday morning and then post it. And yeah, I think outside of that, that's going to do it for us. Thanks once again for listening to us. I hope everybody listening to this has had a great holiday. I know a lot of you are probably not going to be listening to this on Thanksgiving. At least I hope not. I hope you're spending time with your families. And until next time, we will see you Starside. Thanks, guys.